my PhD in research is on identifying barriers to behavior change when it comes to why people find it so difficult to eat healthy and be physically active long term.
Have you ever found that you've hit and surpassed that threshold where all of a sudden you kind of get past this point where all of a sudden things go from hard to like, what the heck is going on?
I'll tell you this story, bro. It's so funny. I didn't want to eat around people, bro. It's intense, bro, where you know that the food part, that moment that you're about to eat, so special because it's the only time you're going to eat. Like, you're already starving. But to be honest, bro, there is something spiritual about prep to me that I come closer to God in certain ways that I never get to unless I'm prepping.
What's going on, everyone? In today's episode, I'm excited to be joined by Javier Sandoval, a natural bodybuilder and registered dietitian nutritionist who's currently working on his PhD. I have to say, this was an incredible conversation. Javier shares about the research he's doing with his PhD, which, without giving it all away, revolves around behavior surrounding healthy eating and exercise. We also talked all about his natural bodybuilding prep and competition past experiences, including topics like extreme dieting, food guarding, and peak week nutrition. In our conversation, we even find ourselves discussing some of the things that we have in common when it comes to how we connect natural bodybuilding, competing, and prepping with our religious beliefs. I know you're going to absolutely love this episode, so without further ado, let's dive in. So you and I, we last met in person back in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
A lot can happen in 2 years, I suppose. How's your training been since then?
I remember when we met, bro, and actually I was looking at the pictures that we took with Jeff and Eric, like in the back, like sitting. Those are some good memories, bro. But how has my training been? One, it's been good. I'll start off with it's been very good and productive. I feel like when you're like a competitor, you always I feel like that's something that keeps me accountable in training hard because even if you don't have a specific timeline, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do it in 2 years. You just know that it's gonna happen again and you wanna improve. And so for the last 2 years, going to the gym, training has been going good. I'm in a small surplus. But to be honest, bro, I've been loving my training so much and the way that my physique is looking that I'm just rolling with it. I don't have any plans of when I'm gonna compete yet. And I'm just loving how I'm looking. So I'm like, I'm just gonna keep growing and see whenever I'm ready to step on stage again.
It's the you're in the building phase of bodybuilding,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's my favorite part about bodybuilding. Makes sense, the building part of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Do you and you said that you don't have any plans as of now or any concrete plans as of when you might compete again, but are you thinking that that's definitely something that's in the future for you?
Yeah, definitely it's in the future. Cause bro, I feel like after you do it for a little while, like you come to enjoy and wanna compete again. It is difficult, right? Like it's difficult challenge of going through it, but once you are in the off season and a couple years have passed, like you want to do it again. But the reason that I say that I don't have anything a specific date right now is because I really find it rewarding and I find happiness through competing. And I feel like I kind of thought about this so much is like the process of getting leaner and getting stage ready. I really enjoy it. And at this moment, I'm working on my PhD. I don't know if I told you I'm at UC Davis working on my PhD. And that's a challenge of itself that I really am enjoying, bro. Like it's hard work, but it feels rewarding because you're progressing. Like right now, I just finished my first year of my PhD, So I kind of see it like that's my own little bodybuilding thing that I'm doing right now, but like in academia. So I'm like, you know what? One challenge at a time. One challenge at a time. I'm enjoying this. And I know when I finish my PhD, I'll be like, okay, I need a new challenge. And then maybe that could be the time where I say, let's get back and hop on stage. So that's kind of how I see it. So if anything, if there's a date, it would be maybe let's say 2, 3 years from now when I finish my PhD. That's when I will say.
That makes a lot of sense. I can imagine that working towards getting your PhD is probably pretty demanding in itself. Do
Mm-hmm.
you find that it's a challenge to balance the lifting that you're doing now with the work that you're doing with your PhD, or is it simple to structure your workouts and stay on track with nutrition and everything, or do you find that there's a specific set of challenges with balancing the two?
No, bro, this is a great question because to me, it's not challenging because I feel like the only thing that it's taking away from me right now is spending a couple hours in the gym lifting, which one I enjoy it. It's almost like my meditation. So I actually enjoy that part. And so me, it's always been a part of my life. So it doesn't interfere because it's always been my whole life. It's been over 15 years. I wake up, I go train, and then I start my day. And so right now my PhD is like my work. That's where I dedicate my work. And then I actually thought about this. This is kind of interesting in that I'm like, this is easy. But then again, I feel like one of the things that happens over time, and maybe you could speak on this as well, is that after you do it for so long, like me being in this off season and then just training, this is fun and easy where I'm like, should I be doing something else? Should I start competing and make it harder? But it's almost like I step back and think like, hey, already what you're doing, going to the gym 5 times a week, crushing it, that's what already a lot of people even struggle to do. Like that's already a challenge of itself. Like pushing your limits to get stronger, that's already effort. But to me, it just feels like I'm not putting that effort because it just kind of comes more natural over time. And so I just thought that was pretty interesting. But it really, at the moment, since I'm not like doing cardio, because during prep, you have to like, okay, now you have to add cardio. So now on top of your lifts, now you're doing extra walks, extra cardio, extra stress on a calorie deficit. So it's like little extra stresses. But right now, the only thing that is me going into the gym and just crushing it. And especially, you know how it feels when you're in a calorie surplus and you got plenty of body fat. Like you just feel like a beast, bro. I just feel like a beast in the gym right now, just crushing big weights. It just feels good.
Yeah, hitting new PRs and getting stronger is pretty satisfying to say the least. I'm definitely on board with that. I can relate to a lot of that too. You mentioned that it's not super difficult to get in your training sessions. It's almost like, at least the way that you described it, and you can correct me if I'm off on this. It's almost like there's a therapeutic element to it, and it's something that you enjoy doing. So perhaps that's why it's not difficult to include, and I can relate to that. I when I was doing my bachelor's, and it was my post undergraduate diploma, which is called an ADP.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any trouble getting my training sessions in because of the same thing. Like I enjoyed doing them. I like getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on board with you on that. And I've got theories as to I don't know if theories is the right word, but I think about this topic sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because some people do really struggle to like fit training into their lifestyle. And then like you and I, there's like a certain subset of people that don't seem to struggle with it. Like we like it, which
Mm-hmm.
I think that after thinking about it, I think that we're really lucky to have this desire to do the training, that we actually enjoy it, because so many people at the end of the day, they don't like it, which is understandable because it's uncomfortable. Like training hard, it kind of hurts to some
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
That's why I think that we're kind of lucky that we like it. We find fulfillment and satisfaction from doing it. But anyways, I can really relate to a lot of that. What are you doing your PhD in specifically?
Bro, you're like reading my mind because everything you were saying about certain people like like you and me, we enjoy it, and it just not often is that natural to everybody. And actually, that is kind of what I'm doing here at my research at UC Davis. So my PhD in research that I'm starting to work on is specifically on identifying barriers to behavior change. What are the barriers to behavior change when it comes to why people find it so difficult to eat healthy and be physically active long term? Because we know people
Wow.
could do it short term, right? And then people hop on a diet, and 6 months later, 3 months later, they fall off, or they start working out, but then they stop after a year. And so that is my research. We're going to start looking at what are the barriers to behavior change for that. And there's some research out there already done similar to that. And I'm sure you could already think of some stuff. Low motivation, lack of time, healthy food is too expensive. I don't have the support. There's certain things that the research has shown. But one cool little angle that we're gonna hit it with my primary advisor is we're gonna still identify what are the most common barriers, but then also we're gonna survey them in where their self efficacy, which is like their self belief, and how much belief do they have that they have the power to change, and see if certain things like that affect how they perceive the barriers. So of course you would assume, right? Less self belief, people are gonna find more barriers. They're gonna say food is too expensive. But then maybe that somebody that has a higher self belief, they might have the same income, but they might not perceive how the food as expensive, even though they're in the same income. So we want to see how psychological traits affect behavior change. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. And hopefully at the end is, with all the information that we get, maybe create an intervention that includes psychological things to prep them maybe before they even start a diet or a training routine.
Wow, that I'm so interested in this. That sounds so incredibly valuable. And I'm just thinking about the experience that I have, like coaching my clients, for example, all of the objections and the struggles that you described, like food is too expensive, uh, exercise is uncomfortable, so on and so forth. All of
Mhm,
these different objections, like I've run into them a million times too, and they're to some extent they're understandable, but at the
right,
same
right.
time you can overcome all of them, and finding a way to be able to like break that barrier to help people
Mhm.
overcome those objections, which
Yeah.
maybe that's part of what you're doing.
Mhm.
um, I can just see how that would be so incredibly valuable. That's actually one of the reasons why I think I love natural bodybuilding and just fitness in general, is because, and I've been trying to articulate the best way to explain this, but I think one of the reasons I like it is because it's a way to practice being in control of emotion. So, for example, like you and I suspect we both feel hunger, like when we're dieting for fat loss, the
Mhm.
same way as any other person, but perhaps we've figured something out as to like how we can control the emotions that come with hunger to keep us on track with our diet.
Mhm.
Just like we experience discomfort when we're training, just like any other person does, but for some reason we can overcome the emotion that we experience with that to keep training anyways, to like dig into
Mhm.
the discomfort. And for whatever reason, you and I think we probably enjoy it for some reason.
Yeah,
Maybe we're a
yeah,
little bit,
yeah.
a lot of bodybuilders, natural bodybuilders, might have that little bit of masochistic edge to our personalities. I don't know exactly what it is,
Yeah.
but anyways, in summary, I think the best way to articulate what I really like about it, or at least one element, is we get to practice being in control of how we react to different emotions that are associated with exercising consistently and dieting, and kind of overriding some of our basic instincts to not do the things that are
Mhm.
intuitively uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
anyways, I'm super interested in that research. And did you mention, like, so you're 1 year into the PhD, right? So
Mhm.
have you started doing your own research into it, or has the past year just kind of been setting up for the coming years, or how is it working?
Yeah, so the first year in the PhD is just kind of prepping you to know how to conduct your research. And this upcoming September, this upcoming academic year, that's when my first chapter of my dissertation, which is a study, is going to happen. So over this summer, this is where we're really going to start setting up the surveys, start sending out the recruitment, who's going to be in it. And so officially the first study is going to start in September. And something cool, bro, that I think you're gonna get hyped about this is that the initial plan right now for this first study is to identify the barriers, like I said.
Yep.
But what we're looking at, of course, once we find those findings, is going to give us more information. But the second study that we want to do is we want to look at the successful people that are already doing these habits and be like, what do these people have? What personality traits do they have that make them successful? It's like, identify you, Sam. What is it in Sam that makes him so successful that we could extract from you so we could make something for the people that are finding the barriers? So what we want to do is possibly survey bodybuilders, specifically bodybuilders, and maybe interview bodybuilders and see what personality traits, certain things that is a niche in these bodybuilders. And so now with the first study, we identify the barriers. Now we second study, we found out stuff about these bodybuilders that make them successful. What do they have? And now with both information, now we could create an intervention with these findings and see if what the bodybuilders are doing, what has helped them, could help these people and take them through like a 3 month program or a module or something. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at.
That is so cool. Okay, so first study, you're gonna survey or have some sort of a process to identify what the barriers are for most people.
Mm-hmm.
The second study is going to be you're going to interview or survey or have some sort of process to identify the people that are successfully overcoming these barriers, figure out how or why or what traits they have that
Mm-hmm.
maybe other
Exactly.
people don't, to try to help teach that or to pass that on to people that do struggle, that do have those barriers.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, that that sounds really really cool. I if you ever make any of that your findings public or you ever talk about it, I know that I'm already super excited and interested in the topic. So, and I can see how valuable that would be, because at the end of the day, you can be coaching someone, their training or nutrition or whatnot, and you can give them a nutrition program and you can give them a training program, and even if they have that on paper, that doesn't always seem to be the secret to success and adherence. Like, there needs to be something else in there, some kind of a mindset thing. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that it
Mm-hmm.
makes perfect sense that overcoming this barrier or whatever these barriers are, that might be the bridge that
Yeah.
people might need to actually make the prescribed training or prescribed nutrition actually work.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. That's awesome. Okay. So that is, and then you're finished that within the next 2 to 3 years. That's the overall timeline.
The timeline would be, yeah, the all those three studies, it would finish within the next 2 academic years. So let's say 2 to 3 years. That should all be done. Yeah, it would be a process of 3 years.
Wow. So cool. Well, I'm really interested to hear how it all ends up going.
Yeah, man, for sure, bro. I'm gonna keep you updated.
As of right now, you are a registered dietitian nutritionist, right?
Mm-hmm.
In addition to working within your PhD and doing the upcoming research, do you work with clients right now, helping them with their nutrition?
Yeah, so I was before starting my PhD, I was very active working as a dietitian. I would work in a skilled nursing facility. So before it was hospitals and skilled nursing facilities as a clinical dietitian. So the people that I would help wouldn't so much be bodybuilding people and so much weight loss and muscle building people in that setting, hospitals and skilled nursing.
Right.
So those are more people with elderly sometimes that need help with managing their diabetes and get education on low sugared foods and how to manage their blood glucose levels, things like that. But as you know, I've always been passionate about health, fitness, bodybuilding. So aside of me working full time doing that, for many years I've had my own private practice where I would help people with their nutrition and fitness, like what you hear now, the online coaches. So through my social media, post my stuff, and you've probably seen my Instagram. So I'm posting shirtless pictures, just flexing, and I've been posting like this for over 15 years. So I feel like people reach out to me like, "Hey, Javier, I really want to get fit, and I know you're the person that is all about this. Do you help people?" And usually, kind of like that's ways that I get clients and take them through online coaching and week to week check ins and things like that. So I've always done that, but then now that I started my PhD, I stopped working as a clinical dietitian. I only have a handful of clients that I help, nothing like a big roster, nothing like that. Just a handful that is, I'm not even taking on any more clients. I just worked with a handful that already been my clients. And the main thing, bro, is just the PhD because it's a lot of time and I just need to dedicate my time there right now.
Yeah, I completely get that. You got your work cut out with you just with the PhD, and then you're getting your training in on top of that too. So that
Mhm.
makes complete sense to me. I have to mention too that you have a fantastic Instagram profile. You have a ton of you regularly post helpful um, content,
Thank
have
you, bro.
really fantastic insights that are super helpful. So if anyone's watching, you should check out Javier's Instagram page. I'm going to link it in the description below. Also, you have a great YouTube channel. I'll link that below as well. That's
Thank
also
you, bro.
super helpful and valuable. So, um, have you found that the knowledge that you have as a dietitian nutritionist has that been a particular help to you in the past with training to build muscle and dieting in prep?
I want to say yes and no, in that you learn a lot. But then again, I would say yes or no because even before I became a dietitian, I was already a personal trainer before I became a dietitian. So I was already into like eating healthy, and you could get this knowledge online without going to school to become a dietitian. So I always knew about eating healthy and plenty of protein, right? To build muscle. But then when I went to school for this, you learn more about nutrition, but nothing crazy specifically towards building muscle. I did learn a lot of nutrition to help people such that have heart disease and cardiovascular disease and
Right,
diabetes and
right,
certain things that have nothing to do with bodybuilding.
right.
So I wouldn't say it helped me a lot, but what I will say, if you if you enjoy nutrition and fitness, I don't know if you notice that when you feel like you're teaching it, it almost makes you commit more to what you do. Just because now that I know I'm a dietitian, I almost feel like I need to lead by example, right? Maybe you're a personal trainer or any personal trainer, because you know you have to lead by example. It almost lights a fire under your ass to even do better. And so I feel like it has helped me becoming a diet. It has helped me with building muscle just because I know I feel like I would like to lead by example.
Oh yeah, that's totally relatable. It's like if you're a basically a leader in any field, so like you're a leader in the
Mhm.
nutrition field, then it seems it seems only logical that you should be practicing what you're preaching more or less.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it also makes sense too. I can relate to some more of that in that, like when you're teaching or you're helping other people with nutrition, like even just making content on like your Instagram profile. I find that for myself, that teaching and like working with my clients is it actually helps me to learn because it like, there's something about explaining a principle or a concept to someone and using analogies to teach that it almost reinforces those concepts and principles when you, at least for me, when I'm trying to teach it or communicate it.
Mhm, mhm,
One of the things I was curious about, I don't know, I guess you've kind of answered the question, but I'm always curious, and maybe I focus on this a little bit too much sometimes, and I've kind of chilled out a little bit, but I used to really kind of hyper focus on this. But like
mhm,
peak week dieting, um, food selection in particular. So like we know that there's different approaches that you can take in a peak week where you can carb up at certain points of the week. When do you have what are going to be the high days? What are going to be the low days? Like when do you have the high days? So on and so forth. But one of the things that I've been really interested in the past, and I don't know if it's as big of a deal as I've made it out to be in the past, is like specific food selection. So for example, things like overdoing fiber, like within 2 or 3 days of the competition, and how that might affect things like water retention or leading to like a bloated look or like a
mhm,
washed
mhm.
over look. And that was one of the things that I was curious about, if you've ever run into anything as far as your knowledge about food selection goes, as to like if you've noticed that there's specific foods that or foods that contain like high fiber foods, for example, or um, along those lines, that
Mhm,
affect
mhm.
the physique when you get really close to the stage. Have you ever found anything like that as far as food selection goes for yourself, like when you're getting ready to go on stage, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, bro. I'll tell you a funny story. I don't know if you know it, if you've done this, but when you're dieting and getting shredded to the stage, like sometimes you want to prevent hunger as much as you can.
Oh
And
yeah.
and even though, and then also Jeff coached you, right? Is it Jeff?
Yep.
Jeff
Yep.
also.
Yep.
So things that Jeff will always say is like, don't, you're gonna feel it, don't fight it, but you still feel like you still don't want to feel hungry. And one thing that I have found, and maybe when you're like not super shredded, that eating a lot of vegetables definitely helps you mask the hunger. And I've got, like, if I got shredded, maybe not super bodybuilding stage shredded look, but with a lot of vegetables. But I guess when you're trying to look the best ever on stage, you probably shouldn't try to have too many vegetables before. And one of my second show, I did 4 shows in 2023. My second show, it was the Muscle Mayhem Los Angeles, because they did a Muscle Mayhem in LA. That one, before that show, I was having a lot of vegetables and I was loving it because I was not hungry. I was
I
not
feel
hungry.
great.
I was feeling great, bro, because I was
Yeah.
eating. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what, f this. I'm sticking to my calories, but it's all vegetables. I was loving it, but then my look on stage, bro, was not the best. Well, I mean, of course, I've actually showed people, and of course, to the average person, you're like, damn, you still look shredded. But comparing my other physiques,
Right.
like,
You know the difference.
oh, actually, you and me, we did. Was it the Battle of the Bay that we did?
Yep.
Okay, the show after the Battle of the Bay, I feel like I look worse than what I looked at the Battle of the Bay.
Interesting.
And I was leaner. I was actually a little leaner because technically
Interesting.
you're leaning out for worlds.
Yep.
And but I still feel like if I had to compare pictures from Battle of the Bay to the LA Muscle Mayhem, I was like, damn. But at the Battle of the Bay, I wasn't doing so many vegetables. So yeah, doing too many vegetables closer to the show, even though I tapered it off a couple days before. So it's not like I was eating tons of vegetables the day before. I tapered out a few days, but I still feel like my body just maybe when I introduced regular carbs again, maybe I was doing too many vegetables, and then I introduced back potatoes. I was doing potatoes. Maybe that shift during that time, the last 3 days of shifting,
Yeah.
might have just altered my look. And maybe if I would have kept those potatoes for a few weeks up to the show, my body would have been adjusted. I don't know if you notice, when you switch up foods, especially, your body's more delicate when you're so lean. Any little shift in food, like if you haven't had rice in a few months or something, you're like, your body just reacts different. It's some type of like adaptive mechanism that your body has. And we could tell because we're so lean. Maybe somebody that's in a higher body fat, like your physique, really can't tell. But when you're that lean, these little small changes you could see, and I definitely saw that.
Absolutely. I actually have it makes me think of a couple things. I can completely relate to all of that. In the 2023 in my 2023 season, there was a stark difference between my first 3 shows and my 4th show, my last one, where I was eating up a little bit. Not by much, but like fifty carbs, I think, total over 3 weeks. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a big difference there. My food selection was the same there, but the only difference was just the little increase, the just slight bump in calories. Like technically I should have still been in a deficit, but maybe I
Uh-huh.
was maybe in a maintenance, and that was enough to like really wash me over. Like it was there was definitely a clear difference between the first 3 shows and the last show. So that was interesting. And the other interesting one is this was the third ever show that I did. It was in 2021. It was self-coach, and in retrospect, I wish I had a coach for this because I would have done a lot better if I had one. But I feel like I kind of sabotaged that prep because that week leading into the show, I did my own kind of carb up approach. I did kind of like a midweek carb load, not a rapid back load, but kind of
Mm.
like in the beginning of the week. I think like on Wednesday, I just like an enormous amount of carbs that I kind of calculated using some formulas that I learned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The next 2 days, I ate in a deficit leading into the stage to kind of clean up my physique. This is the thought process, anyways. But I did something, and the day before, like, I spiked up my fiber intake even more than I usually would because I was really stressed. So I was really stressed. I was self-coached, so, like, from a mental standpoint, I was second guessing everything that I was doing. That's one of the benefits of having a coach in my
Yep, yep, yep.
experience, is, like,
100%.
getting some real person feedback, so there's not just this loop
Yep.
of self-doubt going through your head.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so I was really stressed about that, and I was stressed with work at the time, and it was just all hitting me at once. And then I was like, "Shoot, I'm really hungry. I need to eat more." So I was like, "I'm still eating a deficit," but I just like shifted the ratio of the food type that I was eating, and I added more vegetables, and I also like added a bit more sodium than I otherwise would. I like was craving salt,
Mm-hmm.
and man, that was the worst look. I was very lean, but it looked like I was like 5, 10 pounds heavier than I actually was.
Oh.
I've never shared those photos with anyone. To this day, no one's ever seen those photos. But you live and you learn. That's one of the
Yep,
reasons why
yep.
I asked you, is like I always think back to that. It was 2021, that one experience I have, and just how much the like high volume vegetable meals affected my physique. Or I think at least that's one variable that I think affected my physique pretty heavily. And then maybe an added sodium in the mix too. But yeah, it's crazy. How many times have you prepped, and how many times have you competed?
I prepped. So I done two preps. I did my first prep was in 2020, and then my next prep was in 2023. So that was kind of like my goal, do it every third year, 2020, 2023. And the goal initially was to do it again in 2026, but like I just told you, I'm
Yeah.
delaying it. But it's
Yeah.
been two preps, and then it's the first prep I did two shows, and in 2023 I did four shows.
Wow. Okay. And for 2020, did you self coach, or were you working with Jeff at the time?
I was working with Jeff since my first prep. I worked with Jeff, you know,
Wow.
which is good. I feel like actually I've been since because I've been listening to 3D Muscle Journey for a long time, man. Since whenever, almost like beginning years. So I remember still back in the day, Eric Helms gave me a meal plan with macros and like a mini cut strategy. And I remember back, bro, this was back, I want to say before 2015. That was almost,
Wow.
I think it was like 2012, yeah, 2012. Yeah, bro. I remember like Skyping with Eric Helms because back then it was not prep. The whole goal was Skype. It was Skype to get me like lean enough to like bulk up slowly. And then I did that. It was pretty good. I followed the macros, learned basic strategies on how to be in a calorie surplus without being so aggressive and track your training. And then of me just training after that, that's when officially in 2020, that's when Jeff became my prep coach. And then ever since I just been with Jeff.
That's a really cool background. 2012, 2013. That's like when Lane Norton, the bodybuilding.com was like really big right around then, right? Like
Yeah, bro. That was a long time ago. Good old
that's
days.
in hindsight, I wish that I got a little bit of direction. And around that time, I was just kind of like, I don't think I knew a whole lot about calories. I just knew that protein was good and I should eat lots of it and I'll lift really hard. But I probably could have done a little bit better if I had a little bit more knowledge back then. But that's really cool. Okay. And then you connected with Jeff and you worked together for the 2020 prep.
hmm
How did how did the first prep go? What was that experience like thinking back?
Oh man, I think it was so good. And let me tell you why I think that. I definitely did not get shredded to the stage. I was not shredded. But I feel like Jeff has been doing this for a long time and he knows that every time you're only going to get better and mentally you only have so much strength mentally for your first prep. And so I think Jeff is pretty smart in not pushing you if he knows that you are kind of like already, oh, I don't want to dig harder. He'll be like, all right, this is going to be our stop point. So I'm happy in that I prepped to the stage. I look decent, like nothing like competitive lean, but I look pretty good. I thought I looked pretty good. I got out of the competed, came off to the off season, and got back to my normal life. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, I could have got leaner, but to be honest, I felt like at that time that was the most difficulty that mentally I could take without losing it, because I've heard a lot of stories from friends that have prepped themselves, dig themselves to the ground, and get the most lean possible. And then they get out of the prep and then they never wanted to do it again. They're just like, I'm never going to compete again. Like they just can't see it doing it again. And thankfully, my prep, I didn't get so lean, but I stepped away being like, that was fun, challenging, but fun. I'm down to do it again. And I did it again in 2023. To this day, I feel like that's how I feel with. I got better in my 2023. I look way better. Now looking back, I'm like, I think I pushed pretty hard in my 2023, but of course in the moment it feels hard. But looking back now, I'm like, I could have pushed a little bit more. And so now my goal is just like eventually I do it again. I'm just gonna have more muscle and just try to dig a little bit deeper. Just have that little bit more mental strength. But overall, that to your question, that's how my first prep went. Didn't get super lean, but I'm happy I did it because I think for longevity purposes, I think it did me good.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think that they're really good with 3DMJ because I've been following them for years and years too, and that's one of the things that they kind of teach is that it's probably more valuable to know when to not push too far rather than to just sacrifice your sanity basically to like go for elite conditioning when maybe mentally you're not quite ready for it. And
Yeah.
I think you're right on the money. Like Jeff's really good at being able to know when pushing too far might be and when the best call would be to not do that. Have
Mhm.
you ever found that you've like hit and surpassed that threshold, I know one of the reasons I ask is I have found that I did hit that point in my last prep where I got past a certain point and things felt even more different than they already felt. Like prep's already hard when you're dieting for a long time. You're naturally, even when you do your best to make, at least for me, making my meals as satiating as possible without overdoing the fiber too much.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, even doing that and being strategic with food selection, everything, eventually you get hungry. It's kind of inevitable. Even if there's just an edge of hunger, you're going to be a little bit more hungry than usual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but aside from that, and like the shift of energy getting a little bit lower after a while, I do find that there's this other threshold that that I've crossed before, where all of a sudden I'm not just hungry, but like I get a different kind of food focus, where it's like I felt it a couple times where I passed that threshold, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I know what this is going to be like now, and it's like all of a sudden it goes from hard to like, oh man, this sucks, basically. Have you ever found that, like, where all of a sudden you kind of get past this point where all of a sudden things go from hard to like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, bro. It's sad in that I'm like I'm just like me. I tell myself, oh, like I'm just like so trying to be kind to myself. Like, bro, you're doing your best. But I think it's just so crazy, bro, how prep. That's what I'm saying. Prep is not for everybody, bro. And I think it's so important that if somebody is gonna prep, do it with the coach or very strategic. Like pretty much try to follow the approach that I did. Is like get as lean as you can. That is difficult enough, and then step away because it could turn bad. Like this last prep, I dig deeper, and bro, it gets to a point where just, I was tell you this story, bro. It's so funny. I didn't want to eat around people, bro. I just did it, and my family, bro, is so supportive. Is so supportive. Like there, I told them I'm a prep, and they totally understand because they seen me, and they know that I don't want to talk, bro. I got to a point where I don't want to talk, and oh man, so it's intense, bro, where you know that like now, when you're in the off season, you could sit with your family, eat, talk. But when you're in prep, bro, I feel like you find it's so challenging that you find the food part, that moment that you're about to eat so special because this is the only time you're gonna eat. Like you're already starving. So you don't want nothing, no distractions. And so I have got to that part, and it's tough. It's tough, but I will say this, bro. Like just somebody hearing that sounds like, oh, that's depressing, and I probably would never want to do that. But to be honest, bro, there is something spiritual about prep to me that I come closer to God in certain ways that I never get to unless I'm prepping. It's like a whole different, like you just get a whole different. It's like you're on drugs, bro. You know when people are, I'm guessing, on drugs, they just see different things. Your perspective is totally different in prep. That you see life different. Your relationship with God is different, and so as challenging as it is, and I'm talking about the bad stuff, it has many positives out of it.
I'm completely in agreement with you. It's like pick up your cross. It's like it's a way of, yeah, pick up your cross, keep going. It's a way of, the way that I look at it too, because I think about that in particular a lot. It's like this, it's a fairly extreme way of practicing sacrifice. I mean, it's delayed gratification in its extreme, basically, and that is something that's taught. That's one of the uh, a very prominent, important Christian theme,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that as a big part of prepping. It's like kind of like, in a way, it's not fasting, like you're not eating at all, but it kind of, in a sense, it is like a prolonged fast. It's there's a big
Mm-hmm.
element of sacrifice to it, and I think that's where it can be. There can be a religious experience that goes
Mm-hmm.
alongside it, and also the growth that comes with that, how you learn more about yourself, and how that's one of the things too that I like about I mentioned this earlier about fitness in general, but also the preps, where it's this opportunity to get to practice developing control over one's emotions, our desires, right? Like we go through prep and we have this massive desire to eat or to like it's funny actually listening to you bring up the like eating, like caving yourself away and eating. I'm oh man, I know exactly what you're talking about. I do that too.
Crazy,
The,
bro.
the first time I heard anyone talk about that was actually Eric Helms. He called it food guarding, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, yep, that was the best. That's the best way to articulate it is food guarding. It's like, sorry guys, I
Yep.
can't eat with you. I gotta go and eat my rice cakes by myself somewhere.
Yeah. Crazy,
So,
bro.
but you
Crazy.
know, I've actually thought about that because one of the reasons why I started working with Jeff was so that I could get a better handle on that in particular. Because my past preps, that was so out of control for me. Was I couldn't, the social element was such a challenge for me from caving myself away and food guarding and that sort of thing. And I still struggled with it working with Jeff, but that really helped kind of because he's a master at that. Being social, putting family first still throughout the prep, and kind of letting go of the food focus to some extent. Of course, when you're in it, you can't completely
Yeah.
let it go, but
Yeah.
it's, you know, but anyways, I can relate a lot to that, and I really like the um not just the spiritual but the religious element to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um and like there's this theme of sacrifice that kind of underlies the entire process. I think about that a lot, actually. I think that's one of the reasons why I really like it. But yeah, that's cool. Do you when you this is a little bit of a digression. um when you finish your, and you can answer for both your 2020 prep and your 2023 prep, how do you handle typically the transition from being in prep shape, you're just going from prep to like off season? What is that transition like? Are you someone who struggles with transitioning, gaining weight back, or have you found that it's pretty straightforward to like get back into a regular routine? Or what's your thought on that?
No, that's a important topic to talk about, bro, because it's hard, man. I think that's probably one of the hardest things about prep is getting out of the prep. And I think because you're that refeeding part in months from prep is done, now you're gonna gain weight. Your body just doesn't look the same as your, well, that's my experience and from what I've heard, it's just the where the food goes, where your body stores water and body fat just doesn't look right. And it doesn't help you being extra shredded and now looking at yourself gaining weight. That definitely doesn't help with the way you're looking at yourself in the mirror. But even the way your body holds water on the way up is it's a challenge, bro. It's a challenge where me coming out of this prep, like even belly super distended, where it's probably not normal to look that distended. So it could be, it takes time to readjust. So it is challenging. And the reason that I say that it's not like it's weird how your body regains weight back is because now, bro, I'm in the on stage, I was 145 pounds. Right now, I'm 180, 185 pounds. And now that my body's nice and stabilized, and of course, maybe I put more muscle, I feel like I look good. And definitely, if you ask me how I looked at 160, I probably look like crap compared now,
Yeah.
20 pounds heavier now. Like my body looks good, but it's just the way, like it's just mentally too, bro. I think it's a lot of mental games that you're playing with yourself as you're gaining weight. So it's very important to think about that. And I feel like it's only going to help if you do it more often because I know how it happened this time. So if I ever prep again, I need to prepare myself that how it's going to feel and remember, bro, you like, because right now, bro, thankfully, I like how I look at 180, 185 pounds. So maybe I should remember next time as I'm going up in weight, be like, remember, bro, once you get back to your normal and give it a year, your body's just gonna come back and you're gonna love it again. And it's almost like sad, bro, to say that that might be a scary part why I would not want to prep again, because I'm happy with the way I look right now. So I'm like, do I really want to fuck with that? Do I
Yeah.
really want to put myself into that? Like, I feel like the ultimate goal for a lot of people is just be happy with the way you look. A lot of people have got to that, and maybe I started competing early on because maybe I wasn't happy with the way I looked. So I wanted to like get shredded and improve a point or something and look at myself shredded. And then I got into it. I love it. I don't have no regrets. But then maybe at this time, I'm like, I'm so happy with the way I look. Do I really want to mess with this? Do I really want to like mess that up? And when that time comes, that will be a question that I will deal with. And honestly, bro, I feel like bodybuilding has gave me so much stuff that I almost just want to continue and be part of the community. So maybe I will do it for the reason of just being part of something, because I think community is so important. Like meeting you, bro, I would have never met you. It just built a happier life for me, that I would not participate so much for the physique, but for continuing to be part of this. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, bro, it's a struggle just coming out of it and getting back to your normal weight.
Yeah, that in between phase is always awkward, especially gaining the weight back. I know exactly what you mean. But then you get to like kind of your settling point, so like 180, 185 for you, and then it looks pretty good hanging
Hmm.
on to that. But yeah, that in between phase can be pretty nasty. I always think that I look like when I'm getting the body fat back, I think I look like a melted candle. That's the vision that's the way that I conceptualize it.
I can see that, bro. I can see that picture. What are you talking about? That's funny.
Yeah. Those I'm on the same page as you as far as like the community goes as well too. It's kind of cool, right? Because we're all interested in this extreme fitness thing, which, not everyone can relate to that. So it's cool to have other people that have the same interest, the same crazy, weird interest in getting super shredded and building lots of muscle in the meantime. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's uh it's a cool it's a cool interest, and it's nice to meet other people that are also interested in the same thing.
Yeah, bro. No, 100%.
Um okay. So you're on the fence as to exactly when you do compete. If you do decide to compete, maybe 2 to 3 years if you do, but maybe not if you're enjoying the process. Um, but it sounds like you'll kind of cross that bridge when you get to it.
Well, I could mention something because you're talking about I don't have a specific time of when I want to prep, but something that maybe it's like a not so much deep prep, but something that I thought about, even if I'm not gonna compete anytime soon, I still find it like I would want to get, because I feel like I packed way more muscle now than my last prep, which maybe in a year, who knows if I want to just do a small little cut, nothing competitive cut, but maybe like because I compete at 145, 150, right? Right now I'm 180, 185. Maybe get down to 170. Because bro, I feel like I like the way I look at 170. I'm still super full. I'm like beach ready, bro. Like beach abs are there, a little six pack abs. So 170, I might just get to 170, do like some photo shoots, maybe do like hire some people to do photo shoots. And then that way I'm not super stressed about competing. And then so now it's just like photo shoot, get to 170, get some photo shoots, and then maybe come back slowly back to the 180. But that could be like a little mini prep and just see where my physique is looking. So that's kind of something that if I don't compete anytime soon, I'm down to just do a photo shoot just to see where my physique is looking.
That's awesome. That sounds like a really good plan. I'm almost thinking too, like for myself, I'm like interested to see what I look like at these certain kind of benchmark weights. Like when I get to 190 or when I get to 180, like what's that going to look like compared to the last time I was 190 or 180, which isn't stage weight, but it's still really
Mhm.
lean. You get a chance to see yourself in that context, and it still looks really, really good. It
Mm,
looks good like to most people, because
right.
getting down to like stage weight doesn't necessarily look good to most people, like because we look like
Hmm.
aliens. Like people are
Yeah.
often asking us if we look like we're okay, not that we look good, but like, hey, are you alive over there? Are you okay?
That. Bro, that is so funny because actually today I was at the gym and I'm back home in SoCal right now, so I'm visiting my family. And I was talking to a guy I haven't seen in a while, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad I saw you." And he's like, "I actually was talking to my wife yesterday because I was he saw me at the gym. He's like, I saw the guy, and he was telling me that last time they saw me during prep, that they were worried about me. They're like I thought you were like sick." And you always hear like when
Oh
like
yeah.
you heard 3D MJ say when people think you're sick, you're probably on the right track. You're like on the
Yep.
right track. And I just thought it was funny, bro, because you get so you don't look good. Like people, you think if you take off all your clothes, you look shredded. But in clothes, people might look at you and be like, "Damn, is this guy sick? Like, what's wrong with him?" I don't know if you got, but I've got that conversation before in my preps. And so just today, getting reminded about how sick you look when you're deep in prep, it's funny. But but I've seen pictures, bro, when I'm like at 170, which is nowhere close to stage weight. I really like how I look at 170, bro. So, but it's crazy because I'm so used to that. When I cut down to 170, it's never to hold 170. It's always to get deep into prep and get down. So I would be excited to be like, just get to 170, and I never actually just stay there and maybe come back. But you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But
Yeah,
it's
and
always been
plus
digging down.
yeah, plus that sounds really nice too, because it's like you get lean where you have to work really hard for it too, but then you don't have to like necessarily get into like the really nasty part of getting lean, so you don't have to
Yeah,
like get the worst part of the dieting, so you can kind of
yeah,
just enjoy the process a little bit more and then
yeah, yeah.
float away to the other end of the spectrum again.
Yeah, bro, and I think it like even not even getting competitively lean, bro. I think like for Instagram and what people are normally what most people want to look like. I know we're like competitive bodybuilders, so we're not always just doing it for what people want to look like. But at that body weight, like not crazy shredded, like most people is like, damn, they look amazing. You know what I'm saying? And so
To the
yeah,
everyday person, you're like you become the ideal.
yeah,
That is basically the ideal, right? It's
yeah,
not people aren't interested in striated glutes. They
yeah,
think that's
yeah.
gross.
Exactly,
Most
bro.
people want the abs and the cap shoulders and the
Yeah,
veins, so that's good
100%.
enough. Um, I'm wondering, I kinda know where I wanna take this, so I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about where we were kinda going a little bit earlier. So this is gonna be like a big digression for what from what we were just talking about, but can you talk a little bit more? I haven't talked to anyone about this specific topic, that's why I'm curious, it's just sparking curiosity for me. But can you talk a little bit more about like how you feel like the prep process or fitness in general, how that brings you closer to God? So like the religious element. I'm really curious to know um, what more of your thoughts are with that topic in particular, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, bro. No, no, man. I love sharing it, especially just because I really enjoy that area of my life. So one thing, bro, that I feel like you hear most religions have some type of fasting, right? So there's something that whoever is these people that build religion and religious, and something about fasting is so powerful to get connected with a higher power, right? And so, like you said, I see prep, it's just a prolonged fast. And if I had to like break it down to make sense for anybody that's listening here, it's like it makes you bodybuilding makes you a little bit more sensitive to life and more appreciative of the little things. So, one example where I feel like who knows if you're getting out of control, right? It's like you are starting to do bad habits, but then you start prep, it kind of like grounds you back to step away from bad habits. So I feel like that's how fasting is, right? That's why religious religions tell you start fasting, because maybe it's like let go of things like if you drink too much alcohol, stop drinking alcohol. So it kind of like grounds you back to good habits. And I feel like that's what prep does to me. It makes me more sensitive to the little things that are important in life, because you always hear, I feel like even religion, it's like don't let the world influence on how you live and fancy cars and the money and all this. You hear that, right? We all want it. I get it. I want all that stuff too. So I'm not saying not to like that stuff. But it's like it always tells you, remember what is important, that you get to wake up every day, right? You have food on the table, right? You always hear that. And if right now somebody told you you have food on the table, you're just like, nah, like I have food on the table. So what? But when you're in prep, bro, you really learn how important these little things are, such as food. I remember when I was so deep in prep, remembering that I still had like 8 weeks to go. And I remember all I want right now is to be able to sit down with my family, have a slice of pizza and a beer, and just talk. Is that so much to ask for? I remember telling myself that. And to me, that was like the most amazing thing that I could have. A slice of pizza with my mom and dad and my sisters and a beer and just talk. And you don't appreciate those things when you're not in prep. When your daily life, you take that for granted, right? We take all that for granted. Like, oh, I could have pizza every day. So you don't think about these little things. So I think prep has grounded me and made me more sensitive to remind myself what are the important things in life. And then it gives me a different perspective, bro, that prep could be hard, bro, that it's almost like an experience that is so hard that anything in life could just be like I walk around, like people tell me like, why are you so happy all the time? And it's just I feel like when life has hit you so hard, like a prep, you just sometimes you're just like, I'm just happy to be
I'm
alive.
in a surplus right now. Like, what can I say? I got extra calories. Like, life's good.
Yeah, bro. So I feel like you just get connected more to the world, and whether to me it would be connected to God, but if you don't believe in God or Jesus, you get connected to the earth, to the higher power, something about it, bro.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. Um, it shifts it shifts one's perspective, makes you appreciate things, the things that you do have, the little things like just having food on the table. I loved all that. It made me think of another thing that I've thought about in the past too. Is it the way that not only does it, like I've felt this too, it leads you to appreciate the food that you have, and it puts things into perspective. Like we're voluntarily undertaking this deprivation of energy,
Mhm,
basically
mhm,
lower calories. Like it's prolonged starvation. Sounds really terrible. It's not
mhm,
that terrible at the end of the day because it's controlled and it's voluntary, right? But it does put things into perspective for people that go through that and it's not voluntary, right? So
mhm, mhm,
in that sense, it can help to um, leave me anyways to appreciate the like
mhm,
what we do have.
mhm,
The other thing too is it's taught something about food, another element about eating and food to me as well. I don't know if you've felt this before too, but you kind of brought this up earlier about like transitioning into the off season, like getting really bloated and eating lots and
mhm,
seeing the weight come back. But then contrast that with being in prep and just like wanting to eat so much that it becomes so important that you can't eat around other people. Like that's how important the eating is. So it's like this weird concept where you're in two different states. You're like in a prolonged fasted state and an energy deficit, and then you're in a surplus where basically you have access to all the food in the world. And if you're anything like me, you eat all the food in the world to the point where you're not just full, but you're over full to the point of being super uncomfortable for days on end for me.
yeah,
But that's taught me something about food, just that it's like this material thing where there's times where we want more of it, and there's times where we have so much that it's like, I wish I didn't have this much or I didn't take in this much. It kind of puts things into perspective in that way. And it's like, don't worship food. Like
mhm,
don't put food on too high of a pedestal. It's like it's a great thing. We need it for energy. It's a necessity. We need it to live, and it's important too because there's certain social and cultural things that food revolves around.
mhm,
But at the same time, it's taught me not to like revere it too much because there's times where I'm going to really want it, and then there's going to be times where I like basically want to throw up because I've eaten so
mhm.
much. I don't know if you've felt anything like that before too, but that's something that I've definitely experienced over the times that I've prepped.
Yeah, no, no, 100%, bro. You want to eat way above what you should eat because you're hungry, and so definitely have ate more that than I should. But I think one thing that has helped me is one, I feel like prep makes you more sensitive to enjoy healthy foods. Like I think that's something cool about me following this lifestyle, that I feel like my taste buds are way more better than other people. Like me, I find del- delicious taste in healthy food, where other people, because they're so used to eating fast food all the time, that if they ate my food, they get really no good taste or they don't like it. And so one, I feel like your taste buds from eating so healthy, you get to enjoy these foods. And so me, if somebody, yeah, like, I like eating my salmon and in some, what I'm eating, like pasta. Some people might not find it that delicious, right? But to me, it just, eating that food made me more, being in a calorie deficit has made me more enjoy these healthy foods. And then one, by not eating too sugary and tasty foods, it prevents me also from overeating. Because I can see how if we make our food taste so good, then it's easier for us to overeat. But if you kind of keep it, of course, not super plain where it has no taste, but not super delicious, then you could kind of have more control in stopping yourself. But if it's too delicious, bro, you just want to keep going. I get it.
Yeah, I really get that too. Whether I'm in prep or not in prep, I think prep like permanently changed my palate and the way that experience food. My personal preference, like I think kind of like you're alluding to, is to eat like clean, healthy foods, lots of vegetables, mostly
Hmm.
unprocessed whole foods. And that's my personal preference, like things like pizza and like the stuff that should taste really good, like the really
Hmm.
hyper palatable stuff. It's just I'd rather eat the healthier stuff now.
Hmm.
And I think prep actually is something that kind of changed my palate a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah.
um so I completely get that. That's for sure. Maybe that's one of those barriers, like with the research that you're doing, is like it's probably um a barrier could be, well, eating healthy stuff or eating in a deficit, the food doesn't taste very good. So it's like, how
Hmm.
can you overcome that barrier to get someone to like where you and I are, where like the
Yeah.
healthier stuff actually tastes good? So just thinking like maybe that's one of those barriers to help people overcome. But anyways, yeah, this has been awesome. I've really enjoyed this conversation, man.
Yeah, no, bro, it's been good. I think we hit some good topics. I think it was good topics, and definitely I'm actually looking forward to, like, see, I think everything happens for a reason, bro. You doing your podcast and interviewing bodybuilders and their life. I feel like even just your podcast, you would be a good connection to eventually when we get to that part of the research where we now have to interview these bodybuilders. We have you with
Yeah.
these connections, and we could always make a little impact in improving our bodybuilding community and anybody that wants to be involved in it.
Absolutely. If I can help in any way, or the connections that I have that I've made, if you can use me in whatever way is helpful, basically, and if I can help with the connections that I've made, I think that'd be awesome to be able to participate in a little bit, because I think from what you described, it sounds basically invaluable, that kind of research. And if you can help people to overcome these barriers at the end of the day, then it might be a solution to help a whole heck of a lot of people to become healthier and ultimately live with a higher quality of life. So yeah,
Yeah.
that would be amazing. Anyways, yeah, this has been awesome, man. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the links to your Instagram and your YouTube channel below, um, for people to find you. Is there anywhere else that people can look you up, get a hold of you, learn more about your research, or maybe that's something that's still in the works right now?
Yeah, the research is on the works, and then eventually I'll post them on my social medias like Instagram. But yeah, if anything, just Instagram and my YouTube is fine. But yeah, bro, I'll eventually post my research on there because I think that's cool stuff that we're gonna be doing.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, thanks for this, Javier.
Okay, brother. Thank you for having me. It was good.